I'm Ricky Buchanan, I'm bedridden, and it's not the most important thing about me, but I usually say it first because people notice it first anyway. I have a whole bunch of different disabilities, including ME/CFS. I was disabled since I was 14, but I was able to still do normal stuff, study and what have you. And then at the end of my second year of university, I got glandular fever. I thought that I was just going to have kind of a year off and I was going to get better. And I had this great plan to go overseas the second part of the year after I was better, and I just never got better. And it took a few years before I became kind of homebound or bedridden. But for pretty much the last 20 years, I've been homebound and bedridden and too sick to do official work or study all of that time, although I do lots of my own projects. So I think my brain was just designed in the way that made looking for solutions, that was kind of a thing that I've always done, even before I was disabled. That kind of instinct to kind of make my environment ideal is super, super useful. I've arranged my kind of environment so that the maximum amount possible of stuff is within arm's reach, which is fantastic because then I can conserve my energy to work on the projects that make me happy, which makes my life better. And I've got lots of home automation gadgets that let me do things like turn on the lights and the air conditioner and open and close the curtains and put the blinds up and down without having to move. My favourite piece of assistive technology that I've designed myself is my computer stand. My arms aren't strong enough to hold a phone or an iPad, and it's pretty much my most useful piece of assistive technology. I use it all day, every day, and I don't know what I would do without it. There's a really large Facebook group about assistive technology that I'm the moderator for, and I've made lots of friends through that way. And that means that I have friends with a really wide range of disabilities too, which I think is really cool. I sleep in because I need like a lot of sleep. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, my support workers come and they help me with bed baths, getting dressed, all my housework and all the cooking and any shopping that needs to be done, all the things that I can't do. And in the early afternoon, that's the time when I can think the best. So I schedule things that require thinking, like filming this at that time of the day. I spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in this house. So having beautiful things to look at through the windows makes a really big difference to my mood. And there was some really lovely trees out there that I was quite friendly with, just because I've watched them grow for 20 years and I was familiar with all the possums and the birds that climb the trees. Just this year, they cut down all of the trees that I could see out my bedroom window. And it just makes me so sad. I'm not good at doing a large amount of work in a short amount of time. That's really difficult for me. But one thing that I'm really, really good at, and I tell people my superpower is persistence. I take a photo from the same place as best as I can at pretty much the same time every day. Something like making the stop motion photo, it only requires maybe 30 seconds of activity, but you have to do it every day. I really love doing arts and crafts. I miss a lot now. I did Tunisian crochet and regular crochet and knitting and embroidery, and I made lots of small dolls. As it became harder for me to do things with my hands, I was able to do less crafts and then only simpler things. Eventually, I wasn't able to do any kind of physical arts and crafts at all, so I've taught myself how to do drawing on the computer just with my trackpad, which is great because I just have to move my finger. A few years back, I made a deck of cards to help people with self-care, especially people that were homebound and bedridden and can't do regular sorts of self-care activities like go see a movie or go get a massage. So I made a deck of cards and I did all the drawing and designing for the deck of cards. So now I'm making a colouring book to go with it. I feel like bedridden and homebound people don't have a lot of role models in the community because by the nature of our disabilities, we're kind of invisible. And one of the very few role models that we do have is the late Frida Kahlo. I'm reading her biography just recently, and one thing that struck me, where she had just recently become bedridden, she was writing letters to her friends saying, if you don't visit me, is that because you don't care about me? And it just struck me really deeply because that's absolutely something that I felt myself. Josh is my flatmate through a program called Home Share. They get people who are looking for cheap accommodation and willing to spend a bit of time and match them up with elderly people and people with disabilities who are looking for a flatmate and need a bit of help around the house or just want to have someone around for some social contact. So that's really valuable to me. It's always kind of difficult to talk about my advocacy work because it's informal. There's never really been any systemic advocacy around accessibility to things for bedridden and homebound people. And one of the really important things that I felt was missing is that a lot of bedridden and homebound people don't have any access to medical care, and the Medicare rebate isn't enough, and the home visiting GP services just aren't appropriate for chronically ill people who don't have a regular GP. And so I wrote the Just Invisible report describing the problems that bedridden and homebound people have accessing medical care. And it ended up being 35 pages long, and it had quotes from, I think, 13 or 14 other bedridden and homebound people as well as me. It took months and months and months for me to write, but I'm immensely proud of it. And I know that since I've written it, a lot of people have been able to use the report as part of their advocacy efforts, which is really, really nice to think of.